speaking of getting hot, things got hot Wednesday night at the Metro Council meeting. Joining us now to talk about this, Metro Councilman Aaron Moak. Aaron, welcome back. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing well. Good morning. Monday morning.
All right.
Can't beat this, right?
The coffee is fresh.
I know,
so
right?
We're good.
I had to text you on the way in, be like, make sure the coffee's ready.
The coffee was ready as soon as you walked through the front door. All right. We got to dial back the clock to Wednesday. Before we can move forward, we got to dial back the clock to Wednesday. Because you were actually the person who was speaking when the chief got up.
Correct. I was about 2 minutes into the speech, and basically what I was discussing during my section of the speech was who's the investigation itself, the outside agencies that we're investigating, and I just had some, basically I wanted some general questions answered. And before I could, about 2 minutes in, that's when the whole thing started.
Okay, was there something that triggered him, or was this a build-up over the evening?
So I think there was one thing that triggered him, and the question that I had was with the FBI outside investigating and the department itself being under investigation and with the Brave Cave, the public had been speaking about wanting trust and transparency and openness and things like that. And I wasn't saying that the chief wasn't doing his job in his investigation or whatever. My question was, if we're going to have an outside agency investigate this, and we do this with departments all the time when you call other people in, should we let the outside investigation handle the whole investigation into the department from the top down?
Okay.
And I think, it shouldn't have been taken as, look, I'm not asking you to resign. I'm not asking for termination. I'm not blaming this whole thing on him. What I'm saying is you're part of the department. You're the head of that police department.
Right.
Let them do their job. Keep it all transparent. There's no ties to any kind of who might be doing what, and that's all I was trying to get at. At that point, it exploded. Go back and watch the video, and you'll see the question that I asked.
Yeah, but you got to watch the whole video of the whole Metro Council meeting, because what's shown up on the news starts with, and I believe the only words that get to come out of your mouth during the video are just, I want the Brave Cave shut down.
Correct. You have to, yes, I agree with that. You do have to watch my whole speech as far where I was going with it. And I even talked to a council member beforehand and talked to him about where I was going. I even mentioned that this Brave Cave's been around for 20 years. Look, not only whether it's you having to talk to this police chief, the previous police chiefs.
Right.
Look, talk to them all. I'm not saying accuse them. I'm not saying that they were culpable in anything. But you call the FBI in, speak to all of them, the previous ones, and let's get this matter resolved. It's a horrible, disgusting stain on the city of Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, and it needs to be resolved and open.
We're talking with Metro Councilman Aaron Moak. When the chief stood up, got to the podium, he lit up into a litany of different items that he was very emotional about. And look, as a father, I think anybody can relate to if your kids are under attack. But I don't think nothing about what you were saying had anything to do with that. Correct.
Correct. Nothing had to do with that.
So
I mean, you could break that whole thing down into the different things that he had discussed, and I guess frankly, I think some of them were passion of the heart.
Yeah,
I got it, but I felt targeted. And
he called you out by name.
Correct. He did that. He called myself and Councilwoman Rocca by name, so that targeted us. And then the topics that he discussed about in the whole thing made it sound like we were culpable for those things that happened. There's not but two things in that whole discussion that we were any kind of involvement in. One, the budget item.
Right.
And I will discuss that all day long. And then two, the agencies that we talked to.
Metro Councilman Aaron Moak is our guest. We'll get into the legal budget part of this in just a minute, but I want to go through just to make sure. When he said someone was calling his kids gangbangers, was he referring to somebody on the Metro Council?
I never made that clear. What I thought was, when he finished his whole story, was it was other children at school were talking about his kids.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the video. Asking me where I was at during all that, I have no clue.
Okay. And to be clear, and for the audience as well, we were trying to line up Police Chief Murphy Paul to come on and talk about this scheduling conflict for today, so hopefully we'll be able to hook this up tomorrow and we can hear his side of the entire story Not just, I mean, it was an emotional outburst.
It was.
But I'm sure he would be able to elaborate, revise and extend his remarks, as Robert's Rules of Order would say. He would be able to dig a little deeper than just the 2 minutes that we saw. Okay, so I'm going to skip past everything else that came out of his mouth, with one exception. He made an accusation that some board members had civil service board members in their pocket. Has there been any further accusation or clarification about who and or what?
So as far as the accusations with the civil service board and everything, and look, I've been a part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
I know that process. The civil service board is there for these first responders, anybody that falls under civil service, to be able to take their grievances to there and defend them against any accusations that they're going against, that they've been put before them. Any disciplinary action, they can take it to get overturned. LSU gets a pick, Southern gets a pick, the mayor's office gets a pick, the council gets a pick. One. So the last one that came up was LSU.
Okay.
And they sent two names to us. One of them was a retired firefighter, and one of them, I think, was a school teacher, or maybe even a retired school teacher. I start looking at the thing. I wanted somebody that knows the system, that knows the firefighters and everything else. And granted, he's not a current firefighter; he's retired.
Right.
So I selected. That was the person I picked. We took a vote on it. I'm 1 out of 12 votes, and that person got picked. And as far as stacking the board or whatever, I don't know. They have a pick. The Baton Rouge, the unions have a pick also.
Okay.
They get one pick. So it's a culmination of multiple people deciding who's on this board. We made our decision when LSU sent their names in, and that was the last one, if that's what he's referring to, is the last vote that we made.
We've got Metro Councilman Aaron Moak in studio. We're going to get around to the termination letter in just a little bit, but now let's get into that legal budget part of this, because this is where taxpayers are concerned.
Correct.
These are our dollars if they're coming before the Metro Council.
Correct.
He was talking about y'all. Well, the way the words came out of his mouth, it made it sound like a defund the police movement, but that was in the heat of the moment. What he was actually talking about was defunding his legal budget. What goes into that, and why are we where we are with that?
So you're absolutely right. When you brought up the defund the police, I thought that sounded very horrible, considering the fact that we've increased pay, we've increased equipment, we've given everything we can to our police department, especially with everything that's been going on in the last couple of years, to try and give them the tools that they need to bring the crime down and everything.
Yeah, no, and to be fair to the chief, he was hot in the moment,
correct.
Did not have a prepared speech. It's just the way the words came out.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. I wish everybody else would recognize that with the other things that were said. With that being said, let's get to the budget of the thing. The police officers, their representative thing, started coming to the council early on and talking about the disciplinary actions. So when he disciplines someone, they have a right to take it to the Civil Service Board to get it overturned or whatever. Those officers have to defend themselves. And whether it's the union that gives them an attorney or they get their own attorney or whatever, they have to fund that themselves. The police, the police chief gets to use the parish attorney's office, which we do have one person that's assigned to the police chief, and then he requested his own attorney also in-house. So that's the budget that kept increasing and increasing and increasing. Come to us twice in 1 year to increase, but then asking us to pay back bills. And the whole questioning line of the thing was, how are we to this point that we're forced to have to pay these back bills? Somebody should have kept up with the accounting. That's when we started questioning that part of it. Okay? So when you keep doing that, where's it going to stop?
Right.
And then use your parish attorney's office, which is already being paid by tax dollars. That's why we decided, okay, enough's enough. This is where we're going to back this down. This is where we're going to bring it back to. And that's what we did. That's where we pulled the money strictly from that part right there. Do I think it worked? I do. I think a lot of the maybe the complaints, or whether he's defending himself or using the parish attorney's office more, I think we did our job in our fiduciary structure of what we're supposed to do.
Is there a set metric that says if a suit or defending a suit meets a certain set of criteria, that's what would call for an independent or an outside counsel that y'all would pick up the tab for? Is there something in writing that says yes or no to going outside of the parish attorney's office?
I can't answer exactly what is in writing, but I do know for certain cases, we will, bring outside counsel to defend the police department, the police chief, or whatever. This item was strictly defending the police chief himself and the actions that he took against the officers.
Okay. I mean, I asked just for, future
Correct.
business, just
we do that all the time. For specific cases, we will assign, funding and an attorney, outside attorney, to work those cases.
All right. So, following day, the day passes. As the day wears on, you and Metro Councilwoman Rocca send a letter to the mayor calling for the chief's termination. Are you still in that same space?
I am asking for early resignation. Look, I've told people this since then. If you want to pay him out for the next month or whatever, I do believe an early resignation and to settle some of this debt is to go ahead. I know he's only got a month left. I said it on the news the other day. 1 day, a month, 10 years. I think after that, everything that happened at that meeting that night, and look, I sat for at least 24 hours, just about 24 hours. I called the mayor's office as I started typing the letter and writing it up. I spoke to the chief of staff. I told him, this is what I'm doing. I am giving you a heads up. I tried to follow the process that I thought was correct. I sent the letter to them 30 minutes before I even sent it out. Gave them time to process that. Nothing hidden. Everything open and transparent. The fact that I thought I would at least hear from the chief afterwards. I thought I would hear from the mayor's office since we got directly accused by name of some of this stuff. I have heard nothing from either office. So I gave it enough time to try and settle down. At that point, I then started doing that process, and I talked to Jen Rocca about it, Councilwoman Rocca about it, got her thoughts and feelings on it. Yeah, it was upsetting, but I took the due process to do what I did, and I still stick by that.
So even after the press conference on Friday, as the mayor explained, her side is that he needs to stay on just for the transition. How much does that weigh?
Look, to me, the transition, when you only have a month left, you should be pretty far into this transition of whoever's going to be setting up and ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay? You've got 1 month left. You're taking time to start either clearing out your office, saying your goodbyes, or whatever you want to do. At 1 month, somebody should be able and ready to step in right now. So I think the earlier the transition coming up as quick as it is, I think it makes for an easier and easier process right now.
There's going to be a rally today in support of the chief with other Metro Council members. How are y'all as a unit? How are y'all as a group? I mean, is this creating a rift that is going to get bad?
Look, I hope it doesn't. The emails and everything that I'm getting, and this is what hurts me the most, is I guess the racist aspect of it. So there's very rarely, and especially since I've been on this Metro Council, we've worked together very well. Inside and outside the council, I consider us all friends. This is the first time openly by a public official or whatever, is not elected, but Chief Paul is, where the racist connotation come from. Whether he did not call me racist, but it's coming from the public and it's being interpreted that way because of what happened with his kids, and they think my involvement or whatever else. That hit and hurt the most, and that's one of the things I thought I would hear from either the mayor's office or the police chief to have a discussion about that whole rant, and I've heard nothing. So I think overall we do have a great relationship. I think it's their right to go do these rallies. I wish them the best. I hope it's peaceful. I have no problem sitting down, talking, and then moving on from this. We do it every vote that we have.
The racial aspect of this is befuddling to me. Because we have a black mayor and a black chief of police, but we also have the Brave Cave, where a number of black people were strip searched and humiliated and embarrassed. Like this happened on their watch. I don't know how you can. There's no direct delineation of choosing racial sides here.
Correct. And none of the questioning that I saw at the council meeting, if somebody wants to pinpoint it out to me, none of it went that route. Except for his passionate speech.
Right.
And I got it. I got it. It's just the tone took it as we knew about it, that we directly knew about it. Where were you at, Moak? And it just yells the whole thing out, extends it, and that hit me hard. That at that point, I felt like I was being accused of knowing about these things. And then I get no recourse and no conversation after the point. That's what upset me the most. And then I get no communication from either office.
Right.
And they just let it ride out there. That's where I went with my route after I settled down.
Last one before I get you out of here, and thank you so much for giving up so much of your time this morning. Where do we go from here? How does this pick up and move?
Continue the investigation into the Brave case. I still stand by my point of, just like the mayor talks about whether the process of hiring in somebody internally for the next police chief is tainted or not. That's the same way I feel about this investigation. I don't think it's tainted. I don't think Chief Paul has done anything directly himself to those officers. I don't think he's targeting anyone. But just like the mayor talked about the process of the internal police chief being possible as the next police chief and how that process could be tainted, so let's step out and reevaluate that. Same thing I asked for with the other one. I think we continue this investigation with external investigators, and we make sure that everything gets released to the public that needs to be.
He is Metro Councilman Aaron Moak. I greatly appreciate the time. Once again, we're efforting for the chief to hop on, hopefully tomorrow or at the next possible availability, because I can tell you when I reached out to the chief, he was eager. He responded
I really
very
hope
quickly.
He does.
No, so do I.
And I hope I
much...
really hope. I think what we could do is really work with him, the mayor's office, but they need to come to us and communicate. Everybody says, why haven't you reached out to the mayor? I don't feel like with those accusations or what I think people think now because of what was said, that it's my point to reach out to them. I would hope they would come to me and say, hey, let's sit down and break this whole thing down.
Yeah. He's Metro Councilman Aaron Moak. We're hoping the worst of it is over and we're on the rebuilding part of it after this. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.